This is the Bears Barroom Radio Network. The following program is recorded live and intended for all audiences.
Radio is scripted now. We just come up with it. We don't use computers. We don't rehearse. We're going to talk about this next. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Bulls. And then we're going to have Brad Biggs on. And then we're going to have all this. No. If you don't know what you're going to talk about in the top of your head before a show, you shouldn't be in the business. I don't know what you got. I feel like Vince Vaughn in a couple's retreat. The Sharks are circling. Old school, baby!
You're listening to the Mike North Advantage, and it begins right now.
That's right. The Mike North Advantage starts right now. I am Aldo Gandia, Mike's wingman, and we've got another heavy-duty Sunday edition of the Mike North Advantage. Who does the Cubs president blame for their slow start? And what would happen if you combined the bullpens of the Cubs and the White Sox? Would you have a good bullpen in Chicago? How about Texas Tech making it to the final two? They'll play Virginia. And what does Scottie Pippen think about Tony Kukoc's chances of making the Hall of Fame? All that and more with my man, Mike North. How are you, my friend?
I'll tell you what, Aldo, it's good to talk to you, good to talk to the barroom, good to talk to everybody out there. I couldn't feel any better than I feel now. As a cherry on the Sunday watching a kid that I had a small type of situation and getting him ready for what happened last night. Matt Mooney putting on a show, 22 points, 8 of 16 from the field, very low in his turnovers, shooting like a villain, passing with both hands, defending. If they don't have Matt Mooney last night, I can't believe this. If they don't have Matt Mooney, if you would have told me this 8 years ago that Matt Mooney would be in the Final Four, I might have said, well, that's every kid's dream. But his chances are very limited, as tough a kid as he is, and yet there he is. And then Betsy Less, head coach Tom Less's wife, just beautifully, as they've always been, selflessly, knew how close Matt and I was. I have no pictures or the programs left from the years that I coached, the 6 years I coached at Notre Dame College Prep. I can only tell you this, without Tom Less and that staff, after I quit drinking, you need, when you quit drinking or quit any addiction, the one thing that will kill you, Aldo, is time. And you better eat it up. And then I became an assistant coach. And now, I mean, it just, like a lot of fortunate things that have happened to me, I end up now watching on TV last night a kid who I'd say, take the books out of your backpack because you're going to hurt your back even more. He was carrying 60 pounds on his back practically, and I told you that, and he told us that on the show. So it's just unbelievable right now. It's just great, and I can't tell you. I never had any kids, but just to watch a kid that you had a small-handed with that great staff at Notre Dame with Tom Less, Kevin Clancy, Jeff Williams, Shea, Adam, all the guys there, Joe, just wonderful staff. And the picture's up there today on Twitter. It's a salute to Tom Less and just a great bunch of people over there at Notre Dame College Prep who really helped me a lot and treated me with respect the 6 years I was there. And I didn't coach as hard as those other guys, and those guys got them ready.
You've got to feel like this is one of the major achievements in your career. I mean, because you've played and coached softball, basketball, et cetera, and this has to rank right up there in the top to see Matt Mooney, a kid that you coached, now playing for the NCAA championship. That's unbelievable.
Well, and what's unbelievable is, here's what's unbelievable. He called yesterday, Tom Less, 6 hours before the game, and thanked him for everything he's done for him.
Wow.
Now, that's 6 hours before the biggest thing in your life. Not the biggest game, the biggest event. Wow. Bigger than graduating from 8th grade, bigger than anything that's happened to you. You're going to play on national TV 6 hours before the game. He calls Tom Less. They have a nice conversation. Because I'll never forget when we took over the program over there. When Tom took over the program, he came from Marion Central, which was in Woodstock. And he went over there. And we had taken over a team of ragtag guys who ended up being 14-10. The rest of the years we were there, we got our own guys in and stuff. But these kids adapted well. But I remember there was a low point. There was a little dissension in the locker room with a couple of the players and something else. And we were at Regio's on Oakton in Milwaukee, the coaching staff after a game. And we had just lost a tough one. And I think it was the Marian Catholic or to one of those teams, Nazareth, a team we thought we should have won. And Beebe was sitting next to Tom. And we were all sort of down, but we're cracking jokes. You know me. I'm trying to make light of the situation. Don't worry about it. You know, if it gets worse, we'll turn the gas on and lock the doors. You know, stuff like that. You know, just the stuff that I like to say. There's a trap door outside, and really, you know it's a trap door, but let's walk through it anyway. And I said that Beebe said to Tom, Tom said, wow. I says, that was a tough one tonight. And Beebe says, let me tell you something, Tom. Someday, every one of these kids will come back and thank you. You wait and see, all of them that you've coached. And yesterday, he gets a call from that's his trophy now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you hate to, that's his achievement.
Yeah.
You have a kid in the Final Four that you coach, and the kid called him. And the kid was always a good kid. But there's other kids, they call their coaches. You remember your coaches. And you remember being aggravated of your coaches when you played.
Yeah.
But every one of those guys always comes back and thanks them. And that, I think, was pretty cool of the kid on game day.
Yeah, I'm aggravated at my coach because he never allowed me to play.
Right. I mean, that's what you get mad about. But you know what? And there's only been a couple coaches in my life that basically had no impact. And that's sad. But there's the kind of impact that a high school coach has. Look, Chris Beard didn't have to teach Matt defense. I'll tell you that right now.
Right.
Matt Mooney knew how to play defense when he went into college. Mm-hmm. He learned. We were a defensive team. I will also say that this is a lesson to Northwestern, who told Matt, who wanted Matt this year. But they kept throwing, where are you going to, this will look good on your resume. Now, I don't know what Coach Collins said to him, and Matt likes Coach Collins and the rest of the crew. But this, you know what, come to Northwestern to play basketball, and you know what, someday you'll be able to get a real good job. That's not the way to recruit basketball players. And that's something that's got to change. You're going to, Matt Mooney wanted a chance to play in the tournament and win. And basically, at the end, he stiff-armed Creighton and Northwestern, and he did the right thing. And by the way, you know, to all the people that have Northwestern degrees and everything else, Matt Mooney will be able, he's a straight-A student, and he's going to be maybe a champion in NCAA basketball. Believe me, he'll be able to get a job without a Northwestern degree.
Well, if he is a champion, there's a bettor who walked in back in November. He walked into the Westgate Superbook in Vegas, and he put $1,500 down on Texas Tech to win college basketball's NCAA championship. And so and the odds were 200-1 at the time. And so if Texas Tech wins Monday, this guy is going to win over $300,000 on that bet. Now, listen to this. This is according to the Philadelphia Inquirer. Mike, on Thursday, he was selling the ticket for $65,000. So if he did not get a buyer on that thing, he still owns this ticket with a chance to win over $300,000. Is that one of the wildest betting stories you've ever heard?
Yeah, and you know what? I mean, he's got to figure out what he wants to do. You could hedge your bet. You know, you could bet the other way. Mm-hmm. You could sell the bet. I know that that one guy sold Auburn, and he's probably relieved today, midway through the season. He had Auburn, and he sold his ticket midway through the season for $7,000. So here's Auburn in the Final Four yesterday, and he hasn't. You know, the ticket. If Auburn ends up winning it all, it would have been worth $250 or $300,000. This guy had to be sick to his stomach.
Oh man!
I mean, really sick to his stomach, literally. And so I don't know if this guy sold it. I heard he hadn't sold this ticket. I know the guy that had Auburn is thrilled that Auburn lost. Don't ever kid yourself. If you give up a ticket like that, you're praying they don't win, because it will haunt you to your days, folks. It will walk you to your grave that you had a ticket like that. It's like losing a lottery ticket. Or being one number off. I've always said, if the lottery ticket that I got to win Powerball were $750 million, and my numbers were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it went out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, I'm going to go buy a handgun somewhere and just walk into the ocean. I'll take a flight. You don't want to miss by one number, you know? You don't. And it will haunt you for the rest of your life. So that guy from Auburn's thrilled they lost. This guy, I hope, held on to his ticket, and good luck to him, because it takes guts to put it down. It takes good. And the guy knew Chris Beard was a good coach, and he's getting that whole thing together out there, and he's a defensive coach. Right. And now the score might be 10-9. I mean, Virginia versus Texas Tech, right?
Right. Man, oh, man, that is wild.
Right.
Let me tell you this.
Did I cover everything adequately there? I thought I covered it pretty good.
Well, there is one thing that we need to talk about regarding that Auburn-Virginia game, and you know what it is. It was the controversial no call on the double dribble, and then the controversial foul that was called. Let's listen to what ESPN's Seth Greenberg said about both of those calls, and then we'll get your take on it.
The shooter has a right to land, and the defender, Dowdy, he got into the body of the shooter. That is a foul. You've got to call a foul. They've called it all season long. Quite honestly, they called it all throughout the NCAA tournament. That call was correct. Now, that call at half court, the double dribble, the official absolutely kicked that call. That was right in front of him. You can pick up a fumble, but you cannot dribble a fumble. The game would have been over.
What do you think about that, Mike North?
Well, most of the people didn't even know it was double dribble. They're all hypocrites. Now, maybe Seth Greenberg did, but even Barkley, even Clark Kellogg, they said the way it happened, the ball usually goes off the guy's foot, who's dribbling it, and goes to another player. It only dribbled off his foot a little, and what the kid should have done is try to regain the dribble with the one hand as it was bouncing away. Instead, he picks it up and dribbles. But you want to know something? I didn't know it. It just went by me because it never happens that way. Now, the foul was a foul. You went from point A to point B. And Gene Sketchator, believe me, I thought ironed it out really good. If you look at where the kid is when he jumps and where he ends up, lower body fouls, okay, are very sometimes looked away on. That was... I mean, really, if he went into him a little harder, he could have buckled the right leg of the kid. He fouled the kid. Greenberg's right after the fact, but basically, even the announcers, nobody said anything. So, and there were a lot of other stupid things that have gone on yesterday, the fouling of the three-point shooter to begin with. I mean, what are you doing? You know? And I saw it before in the Auburn game. And then, you know, catching the ball out of bounds. I mean, here's what I want. It's my pet peeve. Turnovers and free throws, but also fouling the three-point shooter. And, I mean, that to me is and then catching the ball standing out of bounds. You have to be a special kind of low IQ guy to be standing out of bounds waiting for the ball. You got to know where you're good. At least know where you're at, for God's sake. Come on.
How true is that? Now, I got to tell you something about that double dribble call. I'm
That's
watching
the kind of talks I used to have with Matt Mooney, by the way.
I bet.
Oh, no. You know amazing. Me. I talked to Matt straight up, and Matt appreciated it.
Oh, I bet he did.
Hi, Coach. Thanks, Coach. Yes, Coach. I'll do this, Coach. He did that with everybody. And the thing about him, he never ran away. When he was in 6th, 7th grade, he played against high school kids. He wanted to learn.
Man, he's a special young man. I'll tell you one thing. I'm watching the game with Diego Del Rio. He is my Diego Del Rio. He is the boyfriend.
He was Pancho Villa's right-hand man, I think, at the Alamo. Am I right?
That's him.
Diego Del Rio.
He listens to your show on ESPN religiously, and so he and I are watching that double dribble. And then when it happened, he and I look at each other. That wasn't right. He can't dribble, right? But the game went on.
You
on.
You guys both knew that. You two knuckleheads both called that.
Exactly. We knew
I'm going
something.
to get you a referee shirt for that one, Aldo. Wow. I'm going down to Player Sports. I'm going to go buy you a referee shirt with a whistle. My God, I didn't know you were that astute. It went right by me.
Oh, my gosh. It's one of the few times in sports watching history that I got a call right.
Yeah. Unbelievable. And your referee for tonight's basketball game, Aldo Gandia. And what's your friend's name?
Diego Del Rio. What a great name, right?
I love that name. Believe me, we can do something with this kid.
Yes. Maybe he can sing. He could do the opening bit before the show starts or something.
In Spanish, I want it, please.
There you go. Expand our audience. Maybe we could have him do a Spanish translation of the show. What do you think of that?
That would be nice. Anything you want to do. I'm always up for things. You know that.
Mike, how have you been doing in the betting world? How's your record?
All right. Yesterday, I was 1-1 on ESPN 1000. I had the over in the Texas Tech game that didn't come through. And I had Denver Nuggets the night before on the money line. So I'm now over there. I'm 7-5. Carmen's 5-5. He split. He had Michigan State yesterday, but he had the Blackhawks the day before. So we're doing real well over there. With Barroom, I'm 11-5. With Vegas scores and odds, I'm 180 over 500. Wow. So I mean, all my vehicles, I'm winning. On Yurko and Carmen's show, I'm 2-2. I had DePaul. I guess I needed Mark Aguirre, for God's sake, even at his current age, because they ended up losing end of covenant CBI Invitational for that big trophy. It was best out of 3. Believe me, I watched it. I never want to see DePaul again. I know I've said that before, but the method said take DePaul. And I think the method must have gone back to 1992 with David Booth. I have no idea, but they didn't look good. They did not look good. I was waiting for Lance Williams and Bobby Simmons to walk in. I was waiting for anybody. I was waiting for Joey Meyer. Anybody, help me. Please, dear Lord, help me.
Oh, Joey Meyer. Well, I haven't heard that name in a long time. Where is Joey Meyer now?
Joey.
Is he still coaching?
The kid was still youthful. He took the DePaul job with 3-27. He looks like Harry Truman now. So they can wear you out. A 3-27 season. I don't think you're ever right again.
Okay.
Just saying.
Shane is in the chat room. He says, "Morning. Tell my dad he needs to pick up jelly beans and beer after he's done with the show." He's directing that at you, Mike.
Jelly beans and beer.
Jelly beans and beer. I don't know what that means.
I have no idea what that means. He's a misguided young man. We've tried to help him. We've tried to carry him along. We'll do the best we can. I don't even know what that means. All right, I'll come back with oysters and Diet Coke. Good luck to you.
All right. Speaking of help, Theo Epstein, president of the Chicago Cubs, took all the blame himself. He says, "I'm the one to blame for the slow start." The Cubs, I believe now, are 2-6 or 2-7. In any case, they're 1-1 with the Brewers up in Milwaukee. They're hopefully going to win that series with their if they win today. What is your assessment of Theo Epstein taking the blame on himself? Is that fair, or do you see perhaps Joe Madden being accountable, or just the players not playing up to par? What are your thoughts?
He is responsible, and I like that he did that. I mean, if you're going to judge Joe Madden, I think that he's responsible. But more importantly, guys like Chris Bryant who go 0 for 5 yesterday. Mm-hmm. I've been saying that you can't have your middle guys go 1 for 8, 2 for 9. Rizzo, Bryant. I mean, it's a nightmare with these guys. When are they going to get some sack? When are they going to come out ready and hard-nosed? They need an attitude adjustment. Jake Arrieta's not walking through that door. They got to go get a guy with attitude. And I'm not talking about John Lester, who pitches once every 4 days. An everyday player, you know, that if somebody gets in their face, because they just seem so passive since they won the World Championship. And we had the argument, not the argument, that the media ran with, oh, they're hungover the next year. Give me a break, the hangover from winning the championship. You should want to win every one. You should want to win every year. A hangover from winning a baseball championship. You got to come back. So I blame them all. And let me just say this to everybody. The next time, if they need Caratini and Jason Hayward to go 6 for 6, we are dead. We are dead on arrival. We are DOA. That's never going to happen again, folks. Ever. You're hearing me now say this. I'm a handicapper. That will never happen again, I don't believe, in one game. So you need the rest of the guys. Yesterday was good. The bullpen couldn't even screw it up. So maybe they tried. I'd like the fact Campbell's threw over 100 pitches.
Yes, indeed. That was huge. Now, I'm watching the White Sox home opener, which they won. It was a thrilling victory. And then after the game, I'm listening to your old pal Ozzie Guillen on the post-game show, and he said this, and I immediately thought of you. Ozzie said the most important part of baseball right now is having a good bullpen. That is because no pitchers are going past 5 or 6 innings, and he stressed it over and over again in that thick Latino accent. And it is true. You've been saying how tough it is for people in your business, the sports handicapping business, to rely on good bullpens. Now in Chicago, it looks like there's not a good bullpen. If you were to amass both teams, Cubs and White Sox, it looks like their bullpens would still be underwhelming and not of the caliber you need to win a lot of baseball games. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, yeah, my thoughts are I wish Chapman was still on the team. I mean, they don't have a blow-away guy. They don't have a guy that you're going to fear. They basically, can't wait these managers. There was games lost yesterday, folks. There's games lost yesterday because of bullpens. Just check the box scores every day.
Yes.
You'll see a shutout or you'll see 1-0 until the 5th. Then all of a sudden in the 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th, 2 runs here. 1 run there. All of a sudden, runs start coming. These people are not. How can a major league starter not be conditioned to throw 100 pitches?
Right.
How can you not be conditioned to throw 150 pitches? I would change my way of thinking myself because I saw this happen with my own eyes. Guys used to go 7, 8, 9 innings. I saw it with my own eyes, and I would make sure that my organization trained pitchers. I bring in Mike Marshall, the former relief pitcher, who for years has been lamenting the softening of pitching and how pitchers are soft now, who used to come in. I mean, relief pitchers like Raleigh Fingers, you know why he's in the Hall of Fame? Because he'd come in the 5th inning when they were getting blown, when they were losing 4-0, hold them and they'd win.
Right.
He'd pitch 3-4 inning games. I mean, this nonsense. Rivera pitching 1 inning. Forget about that. Rich Gossage, Raleigh Fingers. These guys, I'd have my relievers and my starters ready to handle any pitch load. It's a bunch of crap. It's losing games for organizations, and the everyday players are going to get agitated from certain teams sooner or later.
I went on Google and I typed in worst bullpens 2019, and the headlines that I'm seeing. Listen to some of this. Nationals bullpen blows yet another game. Found a bullpen worse than the Atlanta Braves. Dodgers bullpen among the worst in the National League, and on and on and on it goes. It's like every major league team is complaining about the bullpens they have. I've never seen anything like this before.
Well, the thing I like about you is you come back with some good stats and facts to back up whatever I was saying, because I know that the Cubs are horrible right now. But what I was telling you, as a betting man, you notice it. You know when you notice it? When you're winning games 4-0, like a team was the other day against the Yankees, and the Yankees, then they went to the bullpen, and the Yankees scored 5 runs and win.
Yep.
That's when you notice. And when you're betting games, and when you're winning games, like I was winning a game with Pittsburgh 4-0. Clint Hurdle, he of the largest noggin in all of captivity, goes out, pulls Archer, up 4-0. They lose 6-5 to St. Louis. I see it all over. It's a copycat league.
Yeah.
But why do you want to copycat? Why do you want to go get your starters so fast when you know your bullpen basically is just throwing gasoline on the fire?
Yep. How about that? Now, your White Sox, they win an impressive game on Friday, and then Saturday, it's the total opposite. They looked horrible. What are your thoughts on this Chicago White Sox team and the way they've started? They actually have a better record than the Cubs at this point, as Joe Mandel pointed out.
I'm not going to dog them.
Okay.
I like what they've been doing. I like that Mercado got hot, but now he went 0 for 5 yesterday.
Yes, he did.
He's down to 360. All it needs is one bad day. I mean, I thought from how White Sox fans were talking, that he's going to be the next 400 hitter since Ted Williams. And, that's not going to happen. What you want to get from the kid, and by the way, Kopech's on the shelf. The trade's a bust. I don't care what Moncada does, because that will never legitimize the Sale trade to me. But you want Moncada to do well. I always thought Kenny Williams. I'm going to reserve judgment on Moncada because I got to see a whole season. Like I said, it's all if you just take the first week, he looks like the best second baseman in baseball. But I do know this: if I had the chance to trade Moncada for Sale right now, I would do it.
Really?
So that argument will always fall short of me unless it's proven that Sale can't pitch anymore. He's had a couple rough outings. But what are the White Sox missing, folks? Pitching. And what did I say they should do? Build around Chris Sale. They decided to go the other way, and they're not going to win, not because of their lineup, but because of their pitching staff.
Yeah, I would not have traded Chris Sale for anybody, but I am a little worried that he's got a dead arm right now because he was pitching in the low 90s in the first couple of innings, and then all of a sudden as the game is going on, his fastball is down to the low 80s. It's like, what is going on with this guy? He could be having a tired arm or whatever they call it nowadays.
Yeah, but you know what? The guy we got for him, Kopech, doesn't have a tired arm. He's got an injured arm.
He has
and
no
he's
arm.
He was supposed to be the next big thing. You notice that fell off the shelf in that deal. So Giolito, I like. I like Giolito.
Yeah.
I think Nova.
Yeah, he's pitching today.
Is going to be okay. So let's just wait and see. I heard Fred Hubner say, put out on Twitter, the rebuild continues. Mm-hmm. Believe me when I tell you this. If I had an owner, if I wanted to build a building and it was taking this long, the guy would be fired. Okay? That's all I'm going to say.
That is good.
But the Philadelphia Phillies all of a sudden spent money, and the rebuild isn't a rebuild anymore. They said, let's go get some players. And they went and got Arrieta, they got Harper, they got a lot of players now, and all of a sudden they're a better team.
All right, Mike, I've got to tell you something. My 25-year-old daughter is about to get married this July. I need some money, so let's make some picks, all right?
Yeah! Get the anthem on, Aldo.
There you
We
go.
never thought we'd be so good. Yes! That's what we do here, right, Aldo? We win.
That's right. It's all about winning.
Now, I don't know why the NBA took so long to get the odds up, but there's no way I could have picked. They just started putting up the odds. The Heat-Raptors game still isn't up yet. The Mavericks-Grizzlies game isn't up yet. The Hawks-Bucks game isn't up yet. I go, how can I do this? How can I got to have picks. And then I said, ding, the light. You know that little light? It's an Obama bulb. It's the one that's dim.
Yes.
You know, when you turn it on, it looks like you have a lantern. That's how my light is, okay? Did you ever hear that? Did you ever hear the Sebastian Maniscalco joke about the energy? He goes to his friend's house, and the guy goes, yeah. He goes, this house is eco-friendly. We got green roof. We got all this. And he goes, we got these new lights. It saves so much on electricity. And Maniscalco's like 2 feet from me. He goes, I can't see you. You're dim. You're dim. Anyway, I said, listen, this is my deal. I got to come up with 2 winners. I got to go 13-5.
That's right.
Because you want to build the base. Mm-hmm. See, I'm still 7-5 with the odds couple, and Carmen's 5-5.
Ooh.
So one bad week can screw us.
Yeah.
I want the base like I want the base like we have on Bears Barroom. So the first game of the day, Aldo's going, I asked you 15 minutes ago.
I'm running out of music.
5 o'clock shadow now.
I'm running out of music, Mike.
Dear Lord, on high, would you please make a pick before I just go for a walk with one shoe? I go, okay, no problem. First of all, we have in Major League Baseball today. Hello again, everybody. Major League Baseball. God, I love this show. We have 2 games today. The Oakland Athletics are playing the Houston Astros. By the way, I wish they were still called the Houston Colt 45s. They used to have the gun on with the smoking gun. You can never get away with it now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, but they got rid of it because of, of the gun on the thing. Yeah. They were the coolest uniforms.
Those are awesome.
Check out the Colt 45 uniforms. Aldo, while you're doing your due diligence and you got something, you got a second or two, check out those Code 45 uniforms. They were tough.
I will.
But they're not going to be tough today as the Astros or the 45s. Take the money line. Take the Athletics. To get a run and a half, you have to pay $130 to win 100. Okay? Now, the other night, I bet the Denver Nuggets, I bet $265 to win 100. And they won by 7. So all they have to do is win the game. It was easy money, but I had to step out. This isn't so bad. So you got the Athletics plus the 1.5 runs, just like in football, for minus 130. How's that, Aldo? You like that so far?
I like that. It sounds so handicappy, the way you put it.
It is. It's very handicappy, almost very chalky. But you know what? That's the kind of guys we are.
Exactly.
We are very chalky. We know that. Listen, I'm so white, I'm clear. That's what, that really. Larry Bird stood next to me. Larry Bird stood next to me once and said I needed a tan. But that's beside the point. Here we go. Now, God, I feel good today. This is going to make Chicago fans happy. Oh, we were just talking about it. Nova versus LeBlanc today. The 8-2 Mariners against the 3-4 White Sox. The White Sox are minus 110. I go, minus 110? An 8-2, 3-4? Yippee-yi-okay. So I started charting the game. This is a clear White Sox victory, folks. White Sox, pulled out your. Do we have anything that's a? You know what? We have a white flag. It's a surrender flag. We got to get one of those W flags like the Cubs have. You know?
Yep.
We usually, before the seasons, we raise the right flag. But you know what? Maybe we got to get a W flag because today the White Sox knotted up. They knotted up. Just bet them straight up. It's a picket game, basically. The Chicago White Sox and the Oakland Athletics, and those are my picks for the day. Aldo?
I love those picks. Those are excellent picks. Let's, you know what? Somebody today sent you a tweet saying, where can I place a bet somewhere in Chicago? And the place...
I didn't want to say it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, but that's fine. We were running liquor in this town in the 30s. Look, this is a chance for Joe Citizen to break the law. It shouldn't even be a law. Okay? My wife, Bibi, told me for many years, honey, by the way, if I can, Aldo, I would like to wish my lovely wife, Bibi, a happy birthday today.
Oh, excellent. Hello,
yes,
Bibi.
A very happy birthday, and she's a wonderful woman. She should be canonized. There's no question about that. She stuck around. That's what she did. Because if she wanted to leave, she probably had every right to, numerous times. But she decided to stick it out. And, boy, it's been a dream come true. And she's the hottest looking than I know. Especially when I'm with her. It even makes her look better. Oh, yeah. When we're on the track with some other people, they go, aren't you a little bit too young to be walking here? But they never ask her that when I'm with her. Never. So happy birthday to her. And what were we talking about?
Wait a minute. I want to play a little happy birthday music for her.
Go ahead. I just lost my train of thought because I love my wife and I wanted to wish her happy birthday.
Here we go. Stevie Wonder wishing her happy birthday. I've never heard of this song before, so I'm just taking a chance.
He's looking the other way at her because he thinks he's on the other side of the room. She's standing right next to him.
Oh, this is from 1990.
I know guys that think he's not blind. I said, I don't think Jose Feliciano's blind. They go, he's blind. He's blind because if he wasn't, he wouldn't be up there. See, Stevie Wonder, if he was blind or not, if he said tomorrow, I'm not blind, okay, big deal. It was to get into show business. It worked. You're great. Jose Feliciano, not so lucky.
That's right.
Light my fire. He's one of your countrymen.
That's right. Puerto Riqueño. Yes.
Hey, Armando.
Yeah, I don't know why I said
that means. I don't know what that means, but I just yelled something that I sounded like Spanish. I did my Ron Burgundy. Moringa.
Oh, that's some good stuff. That is some good stuff. Okay.
What were we talking about?
Well, we're on to a new subject. I want to.
Thank God.
I want to play a little bit of this. I guess it's not. Maybe it is a controversy. Paul Pierce, the Boston Celtics star, was asked if he was a better player than Dwayne Wade, and this is what he said. And this was on ESPN. I think it's Michelle Beadle that asked the question.
Who's the better NBA player?
That's easy. I can say that off the bat. That's me. If you give me Shaq, if you give me LeBron,
he did. Call the big three.
We got that late, but like early in my career.
What are you doing right now?
If you give me these guys early in my career, I'll be sitting on 5 or 6 championships. Easy.
All right, so that created a huge stir on social media. People were saying, Pierce is correct, or people were saying Pierce is crazy. But here's what happened a little later on the show. Jalen Rose said, well, since Dwayne isn't here to stick up for himself, here's what Dwayne would say.
He's made All-NBA first team twice. Paul hasn't done it. He made All-NBA 8 times to your 4. Ooh. He's made All-Defensive team 3 times to your 0.
Ooh, 0. That's rough.
He's won 1 scoring title. You weren't able to win the scoring title.
That's too bad.
He has 3 rings. You have 1 ring.
Ooh, 3 is bigger than 1.
Pierce sat there stone-faced listening to this. What are you? While I'm listening to this, I'm saying, Jalen Rose did exactly what Mike North would do. He came out with facts and just shot him down. But I want to know.
Do you know that I said for 2 years back in the day when Kobe Bryant was in his prime that Paul Pierce was better than him, and then it proved out.
Yeah.
Paul Pierce became the Finals MVP and whipped Kobe's ass on his own court. So I understand where Paul's coming from. And Paul Pierce, they took the conversation and twisted it.
Yeah.
Paul Pierce said, if I had LeBron and Shaq, I would have done all this. So Dwayne Wade, with all due respect, I'm never going to argue about D. Wade. Marian Catholic kid, great ball player. Richards High School, great ball player. Never. But if Paul Pierce would have played with LeBron in his prime, and if Paul Pierce would have played with Shaq in his prime, Paul Pierce has a lot more titles. Because Paul Pierce was a great player. But the argument that you're looking at, it looks like D. Wade wins it. And D. Wade did win a championship without LeBron James. But he had another guy, I think. So, you know what? He had a guy named Shaq, I think, on that team, didn't he? I can't even remember anymore. I think I got some timers. But I mean, it's a great argument. I know Pierce loses it at the end because of stats and everything else and first team. But Paul Pierce also played a different position.
Yes.
So when you're looking at all-star teams, sometimes, that could be the cause. Like somebody said to me, because I love Sebastian Janikowski. I said he could kick for the Bears next year. And don't give me the Urlacher crap. He's been retired 6 years. I go, I won that. If the Bears would have drafted Janikowski, he'd still be kicking for him. But they go, well, how many Pro Bowls did he go to? Urlacher went to more Pro Bowls. Wait a minute. How many linebackers do they pick for Pro Bowls? 6 on each team. 7 sometimes. How many kickers? 1. So when you have a guy named Vinatieri in your league, or other people, that can cloud things. Janikowski's only made a Pro Bowl once, but if he played in the NFC without Vinatieri, he would have made more. You know what I'm talking about.
I do, but I so disagree with you picking Janikowski over Urlacher. Now, I'm going to
Why? Because he's still playing and Urlacher's doing Harry Store commercials on billboards. I love the fact that Brian's got a job, but this guy is still scoring points. He scores points. He's going to probably... Seattle, and by the way, speaking of Seattle, maybe my Rodgers, people know this. I've been saying for a year on Bears Barroom.
You have.
We break ground. I've been saying the Seattle quarterback for the Green Bay quarterback for a long time. And Matt LaFleur is the coach of Green Bay, and he's going to have some issues with this guy, Aaron Rodgers. They're bombing each other, him and McCarthy. Russell Wilson would be a nice addition. I think it's time for Aaron Rodgers to go to Seattle. I'd love to see that trade.
What do you make of that whole thing with Aaron Rodgers, disrespecting his head coach in a way where it's basically a coup or a mutiny? He's changing plays, and now he's allowed to change some plays, but he was doing it in a manner that was really inappropriate. And then there's these stories about Mike McCarthy taking massages and missing meetings. What a mess up there in Green Bay. Do you believe this stuff, or do you think that...
Well, Aaron Rodgers is a piece of crap, I think, too. I've never liked him to begin with. He never takes responsibility on his own. Mm-hmm. He was the guy that vouched for Ryan Braun.
That's right.
And then he got betrayed. He fell for that, and that's okay. Mm-hmm. But it just Mike McCarthy, he's not perfect either.
No.
And I think that it hurts the credibility of anybody who starts talking out of the locker room. And then McCarthy, he was not given the Holmgren treatment, or if anybody that's won a Super Bowl before him, he was let go. And I think Rodgers had a lot to do with it. Aaron Rodgers is trying to cover up basically the too much hype. Mm. He's been hyped as the greatest who ever lived. He's a pimple on some quarterback's ass. That's what he is, including in his own franchise where he's got the same amount of Super Bowls as Favre, but Bart Starr's Mr. Quarterback. He's got two.
Yeah, how about that? People, when they talk about Green Bay quarterbacks, they forget Bart Starr. And while he may not have the numbers, he played in a time where, was run first. But Bart Starr was a leader of men. He was an efficient quarterback. And in my mind, you have to consider him the best quarterback in Green Bay Packers history.
He is.
Yeah.
He is. I don't care about the stats. Here we go with the stats again. It's a different ballgame.
Right.
Aaron Rodgers got hurt once, okay? They're not allowed to touch the quarterback. They used to mangle these guys. Bart Starr is a bigger and more potent winner, and he was a leader of a bad football team, and Vince Lombardi put the ball in his hands and said, you're going to think like me, and we're going to win. He ran the program, and he got it done. He would have never changed plays on Lombardi, because Lombardi probably would have killed him after the game, but maybe he called his own game. I don't know. But if Aaron Rodgers wants to change plays, and it was against what Mike McCarthy wanted to do, I just watched Mutiny on the Bounty the other night. A terrific movie. But if your deckhands, and that's what Aaron Rodgers is, he wasn't the coach, are doing that, then he's the piece of crap I thought he was.
Mm. Interesting. Now, you caught me, huh?
Thank you. And have my receptionist put down a future date. Thank you.
Sounds like I'm like smoking a cigar and doing a
shot. I got to do it once a day. I could have gotten you a couple times already, but I said, you know what? I'll wait for later in the show. It's been too predictable lately.
It's so true. Now, the Packers have not made the playoffs in the last two seasons. Do you think that streak is going to continue now that they got a young head coach who's probably about the same age as Aaron Rodgers, and there's all this turmoil going on in Green Bay? Are we seeing the end of the Green Bay dominance in the NFC North? It certainly appears that way to me after not making the playoffs 2 straight years.
I hope so, because I don't like Aaron Rodgers. Never have. I'm not a hypocrite. You know that. Mm-hmm. And I think that, like I said, I said this a year ago. One of the main problems they got at Green Bay was the quarterback. I watched the games. Everybody got to quit putting him on a pedestal.
Yeah.
Bottom line is that Russell Wilson has won as many Super Bowls, and he's a bigger winner in my eyes than Aaron Rodgers. And you never hear him cry. He does what he's told to do for the most part. He's got no offensive line like Aaron Rodgers, and he just tries to win football games and usually does a pretty good job. So I think Minnesota's going to look good this year. I'm distressed about the Bears. And the reason I'm distressed about the Bears, and everybody, Shane's going, hey, what do you mean? Take it easy. Look, Tooch is up in arms. He's getting up from his breakfast. Sit down. Little Nicky was on the pot. He just got up. I mean, come on. We're not even, it's early. But why is the over-under 9.5? No, I'm not going to take, I said they'd win under last year.
Right.
I'm no maven on totals. I've never been one of these futures guys.
Yeah.
I would like somebody to explain to me, with Khalil Mack, with a great young quarterback, with a young coaching staff, with players being resigned. Some we lost, but we've done a pretty good job doing the best we can. Brought in some veterans. Is the Vic Fangio experiment going to work? I don't know. But here's what I want to know. How do you win 12 games and then next year your totals are 9.5? How does that work?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's the level of competition they're playing this year. They are facing some really tough teams now. While the official schedule is not out in terms of what days they're playing and so forth, we do know all of their opponents and the list of teams they're playing. It's pretty tough, and they have to travel to London to play the Raiders. I mean, they should win that game, but it's you know how the travel can be tough on a team.
You know what? If I was commissioner of football tomorrow, I would say there'll be no more London games.
Tell me why.
No more London games. I know the food's gotten better. The dentistry is better there now. I went to London years ago. I felt good about my teeth, and they're horrible. But when I saw them and I saw people talking to me, I'd walk away. Boy, the guy had a snaggletooth. And I'd keep walking. Then I'd have some bad bacon. I went on the Jack the Ripper tour. I'll never forget it. They go, this is where Jack slit the woman's throat and then cut her down the middle of the front of her vagina. I go, this is a drive-through bank. What are you talking about? And they go, wait a minute. That's before the bombings. I go, listen. I'm all good. It supposedly happened here, but I want to go to the ATM machine. I'll be back in a minute. I mean, I don't understand it. So I would ban all the London games. I think they're brutal. Fans don't like them. Nobody likes them. The NFL's trying to make an imprint there like they're going to replace soccer. It will never happen. Leave it alone and go on. I'm sorry the Bears are playing there, but that might have something to do with things too. I just think that it's scary that they're only 9.5. I mean, what do they know that we don't know? Hopefully they'll be wrong again. Maybe they thought it was a fluke. Vegas has been wrong many times before.
They have, and I'll tell you what, George Bayless, also known as Barlissimo, who lives in London.
I love Barlissimo! He's
not really happy with you right now in the chat room.
Why?
Because he lives in London. I'm
sorry. I'm sorry. What do you want me to do? The guy tells me, here's where Jack got his second victim. I said, this is an apartment building. And the guy, there was a house here. But I got to see the real stuff. It was a mistake. I'll see you later. I mean, London's a beautiful town. I went on the Ferris wheel. I saw Parliament. I went by Buckingham Palace. I went by the Portobello Mushroom Market, which I love. I'm a people watcher. Went into the pubs. But Barlissimo, you're not the mayor of London, so I'm not worried about it.
I promoted the show by saying Mike is probably going to burn some sports personality. Well, little did I know.
Wait a minute, my God, 1945. Barlissimo, listen, I love Barlissimo. Just thank us. Just thank us. Otherwise, you'd be speaking German.
Little did I know you were going to bust
on a
whole country.
Barlissimo didn't know he was messing around with a big time. I watch the Smithsonian. I've seen all 9 Churchill movies, and they're all boring. Dark Victory. How about Dark Coma? My God.
All right, let's move on to
Barlissimo sending a squad of English hitmen to come get me, led by Sean Connery. Well, he was Scottish.
He is Scottish. I think he's still alive.
Yeah, he's like 95 or something now. He's got a caregiver. James Bond. He walks down the street with some dude. But he's still walking. God bless him, man. And these other James Bonds. Forget about it.
The worst, right? Well, I'd like Daniel Craig as the new James Bond. You don't like him?
Listen, Sean Connery could put Pierce Brosnan and Daniel Craig on his knees and act like Edgar Bergen. Are you kidding me? There's only one Bond. Believe me when I tell you this, folks.
Yeah.
Believe me.
All right, I want to switch subjects here because...
because Barlissimo's going to... take a flight over here and get me.
Yeah. Vlade Divac. Is it Divac or? Yeah, it's Divac.
Divac.
Right, Divac. He was elected into the Hall of Fame, the Basketball Hall of Fame, and so Tony Kukoc was overlooked again, and Chicago Bulls legend and Hall of Famer Scottie Pippen was asked by the Chicago Tribune if he thinks Kukoc deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. And I wish I had audio of this, but since it's a newspaper article, I have to read it. This is what Pippen said. I definitely think he deserves it. He was a huge piece for us. You look at the game today, teams have the big three now. Tony was a part of that puzzle for us. He was productive and deserves a lot of credit for our success. What think you, Mike North, about Tony Kukoc possibly landing in the Hall of Fame? And what do you think about Scottie Pippen's words about Kukoc?
Well, first, I'm very happy that Scotty recognized that.
Yeah.
Because I always thought him and Jordan, especially in the Olympics, beat the crap out of the kid because they hated Krause.
Yep.
But then he became a teammate. I never saw the overwhelming love for him, but I think since years have gone by, I know they respected him. And there's no question in my mind. He's a guy that's from Rodman to Kerr to Paxson to Harper. And, looked. And, I see what he did for this team. I'd love to see him get in. If they're going to let Divac in, I mean, they should let the Pink Panther in. It's not about the NBA only either. Mm-hmm. It's about what he meant from the European side of basketball. He was the waiter, the Pink Panther coming over here. He was heralded. He broke in he was a star, and he had to take the third role on that team. So he still makes his home in Chicago, still does work for the Bulls. I love Tony Kukoc, and Scotty should have finished the story. He saved Scotty's career in Chicago by making the shot with 1.8.
Now, you mentioned about the Olympics, and Pippen made reference to that, saying that when they harassed Kukoc, the poor guy, he said that Michael and I were at the prime of our careers. It was all part of having fun and showing your passion and enjoyment for the game. That part I don't buy, Scotty. I think you purposely...
No, they wanted to kill him.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
No, Scotty knows what they wanted to do. They wanted to embarrass Krause through Tony. Tony didn't have a team around him that could compete with these guys. They're the greatest. I mean, one of the greatest teams. I still think if they played Golden State and you're allowed to play D like they used to, the Golden State doesn't have a shot. Yep. They don't. That's just my opinion. Now, if you can't touch anybody, well, then what's Jordan going to score? 45, 50 every game? We'd have to see. But I'm happy to hear that Scotty said that. The old Scotty might have said, nah, but he was so important. And he was important for basketball as a whole, and he should get in sooner or later. Divac, don't forget, is a front office guy, though. And when you're a front office guy, just like Reinsdorf and all these other guys, they get their pets in, so maybe that's what happened to him.
Hey, Mike, you and I don't always agree on everything. I'm going to point out one thing that I heard you say on the radio, my goodness, 20, 30 years ago. This was right after the...
Well, it's good you don't remember.
That's right.
It's good you don't know the grudge. Sound like my high school teacher. Maybe you don't remember the mark I gave you.
No, I want to forget it. This was after the Bulls beat the Seattle Supersonics, the Seattle Sonics, after their second championship, I believe. And Sean Kemp had a tremendous series against the Bulls, but it was not enough. And I recall you saying that you would trade Scottie Pippen straight up for Sean Kemp. Do you still believe?
Oh, I would have traded Scottie Pippen for Karl Malone, for Charles Barkley, for Sean Kemp, for a lot of great players. I mean, these guys were all great players.
Yes, they were.
And Scottie was a shit. See, the difference between Barkley and Malone and Kemp is Scottie wasn't a number one guy like them. He was a number two. He was a number two. So Scottie Pippen's in the top 50 players of all time, and he's one of the few guys that got in off the coattails of Michael Jordan, in my opinion. So I would have no problem trading him for a lot of players back then, because if you're telling me if Jordan had Barkley or if Jordan had Kemp or if Jordan had this guy or that guy, they weren't going to win. I'll tell you, he could have won with almost anybody. And these guys were known. You get more offense. Here's where I'll give Scotty the go.
Okay.
Scotty was a talented defensive player, and that's where he's got it over these guys. But if he had to be the number one go-to guy, they don't win. If they don't have Jordan, he's the number one guy. They almost won. I always hear they almost won without him. They didn't. They don't win without Jordan. And Scotty's not in the top 50. That's my opinion. I think Barkley is. I think Shaq is. See, all those guys were major stars. Scotty was the understudy, period. Jordan was the man. As harsh as that is, even Scotty said it. You needed 3 guys. Well, what number do you think Scotty was? You think he was 1? No, he was 2 and 3. So, yeah, I would have traded him for Dominique Wilkins. I would have traded him for a lot of guys.
But don't you think that if you trade him for one of those superstars, then you've got a situation on the team where you've got 2 number ones fighting for the ball, fighting for the accolades and so forth, where with Pippen knew his place. He was Robin to Jordan's Batman, and that is hard to find on a basketball team where you have a guy who knows his role. He's going to play great defense. He's going to create turnovers. He's going to hit a big shot here and there. He's going to lead the team in assists. That's why I wondered if that would have been a great trade, because Sean Kemp, I don't know if he would have liked to have played the number 2 role on the Bulls.
Well, you never know that. But the fact is, he knew his place. See, because he already knew he wasn't better than Jordan. I think anybody that came to the Bulls, I don't care if it was Kemp, Barkley will tell you, the biggest thing that ever happened to him is he didn't play with Michael.
Right.
Because I went to the fantasy camp, and he said he wishes he would have played with Michael. And Michael Jordan got on the podium, and he knows this. Any other player that comes to the Bulls during the Jordan prime is going to be the second banana, but you get plenty of shots.
Yep.
You'll still get plenty of shots because Michael distributed the ball. And Michael was, the difference between Michael Jordan and LeBron James is simple: defense. 9-10 times on the defensive team, and an all-defense number 1 defensive player 1 year, player of the year. LeBron didn't do that.
Right.
So when they talk about Pippen playing great defense, the number 1 player in the world was as good a defensive player. So, yeah, I think what he would have done, and I'm not taking anything away from Scotty,
sure,
Barkley would have had to play better defense, because he said in front of 35, 40 people in a big banquet room, with Barkley sitting right there, he goes, Charles was never going to beat me. He wasn't dedicated enough, and he wasn't fit. And he's sitting right there in front of everybody.
That is so
and
true.
Charles knew it.
Well, and
he wasn't. How about that? How about that? But if you saw the Hall of Fame speech, he did the same thing.
Yes,
he
did.
buried people.
Yes, he did. Well,
in front of them. In front of them.
I know. No shame, no remorse.
I heard him say that about Barkley. I'm going, wait a minute. This guy's on the All-50 team. He basically said Charles would have trouble playing on our team because you have to be in top physical condition, and you got to play all 82 games. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
And he's sitting right there.
Well, and I'll give you one other reason that Jordan is the better player over LeBron, and that is Jordan's will to win is on you grade that at 100, and LeBron's is about 50, 51. And, LeBron.
You want to know something? If Michael Jordan went to the Lakers in his prime, or even I don't know what would have happened, but I would have told you this: he tried to play 82 games. He played 82 games his last year with Washington.
That's right.
82 games. He played 82 games, folks. This is what I do. You go, Mike, that's what I do. He played 82 games 7 times in his career, and he played over 77. Listen to this, folks. Sit down if you're not sitting. Hey, you, don't try to leave. Get back over there. He played 76 games or more. 11 of 13 seasons.
Whoa.
Now, I'll give LeBron this. He's done the same thing. I don't like how LeBron takes some days off. This year was a debacle, but he had been playing in the 70s for a long time.
Yes.
Also, the stars do. But Michael never took a day off because he was like Joe DiMaggio. Joe DiMaggio said the same thing. If there's a kid that comes in my game and I ain't playing, I feel like I let him down.
Yeah.
Period.
You know who I compare LeBron to in many respects? To a player, an NBA legend that you interviewed, Wilt Chamberlain.
Oh, well, I don't think there's any comparison. If I could say it, I think that when you have rules changed because of you, when you have the key widened because of you, when they put in the 3-second rule because of you, when they put in goaltending because of you, when they change rules in the game, there's an argument to be made individually that Chamberlain and Jordan are at the top of the list. Chamberlain averaged 50 points a game.
Yes.
He put up 25 rebounds. He was a Goliath, and he played against great players like Alcindor, Russell, Wayne Embry, Adles. He played against Jerry Lucas. He played against some formidable players, Walt Bellamy, and he just destroyed. He put 100 points up in one game. So LeBron, to me, he's his own guy. Yeah. LeBron's special too, but nobody's like Chamberlain was, man. If you look at the record books, it always goes to Wilt.
Yeah, and the reason I compare them both is because both were extraordinary athletes, and yet were so huge. I mean, both of these guys, LeBron, if his athleticism for a man that big and that strong is amazing, and that Zion Williamson could be in that category, to digress a bit, but also Wilt Chamberlain was just a phenomenal athlete at over 7 foot tall. It was amazing.
Yeah, you know what? I got to drop LeBron way down. It would be Michael, Chamberlain for me, 1-2. LeBron's in the top 10, though. It's not like I just think the comparison's tough because to compare Wilt Chamberlain to anybody. I mean, Bill Russell. There's the old story that he broke the rebounding record in one game, and then 2 days later, Wilt played Russell and broke the rebounding record, but against Russell.
Oh, amazing!
So that's the type of guy. He was a heated competitor. He wanted to win. He played on two of the greatest teams of all time, the '67 Sixers and the '72 Lakers. I mean, they're West and Greer and all those guys. But if he would have played with the Celtics, I think he wins as many as Russell.
Yeah.
Bill Russell played great defense. Bill Russell was a great player, but he couldn't hold Chamberlain's jockstrap offensively. Not even close. Not even close.
It's too bad there's not really good video of those matchups between the two of them. That would be something I pay to watch.
Every Sunday it would be on. I'd go to my grandmother's house for spaghetti in the 60s, and the NBA game of the week, Sixers versus the Celtics.
Right.
Black and white television, Chamberlain versus Russell, baby.
Yeah, good stuff in those days.
But he never had teams like Havlicek. When he did have teams like that, they broke records with Philly and with the Lakers. But he never had guys like Havlicek, Sam Jones.
Nope.
I mean, he had great players. He was the guy that changed things for the Celtics. But Bailey Howell was a great player. Don Nelson was unbelievable. Who's, by the way, owns a pot farm now and has lost about 100 pounds, and he looks terrific. He looks like the drummer for the Allman Brothers band now, but if you get a chance to look at Don Nelson. But, I mean, he had some great players.
Yeah, Don Nelson is a pothead nowadays.
Tommy Heinsohn with Fred Flintstone.
Yeah.
Bonnie. I mean, he sounds just like Fred Flintstone when he does the game, Tommy Heinsohn.
Hey, get a load of this from Jerry64 in the chat room. He's got a random fact about Wilt Chamberlain that just blows his mind and blows my mind. In the 1961-62 NBA season, he played all but 8 minutes and averaged 48.5 minutes per game because of 7 OT games. Now, do you want to know why he missed those 8 minutes? 8 minutes? He was ejected from the game. So if not for that ejection, Walt would have played every minute of every game in that 61-62. That is pretty amazing.
I'll give you, LeBron's not even in his category. I'll give you another one.
Uh-huh.
He never fouled out of the game. Ever.
That's
you know how hard that is?
Yes.
Never once. And they would try to drive the lane on him. He could have, and he never fouled out of a game once. That is unbelievable for a man of his size. But he was a great volleyball player.
Yes.
He was a track star.
Yes.
He's as great an athlete as Jim Brown was. He was a lacrosse player. If you're looking at great athletes of the past, Bo Jackson, Wilt Chamberlain's right up there with anybody.
The only
I would have loved to have seen Wilt Chamberlain because I've seen old stuff of him on track and field.
Right.
I would have loved to seen him run full sprint.
Yeah.
Period.
That would have been cool.
Monster.
The only weakness in his game, and I think this was more in the latter part of his career than the beginning, was his free throw shooting. I mean, he was horrible from the line. And
he was bad.
Yeah.
But then the night he scores 100, he goes 32 and 36.
Oh,
and by the way, when they beat the Bulls, I'll never forget, we lost with Van Leer and those guys. He had to make 3 to make 2. He made them all. when they had to win the big game.
Wow.
He made them all.
Wow.
I don't think he gave a damn, to be honest with you. But when the night he wanted the 100, he had a good night if you look at the free throw shooting.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, Wilt's most prolific record is the amount
It's like talking to an historian, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like talking to Alexander Graham Bell about what went into the telephone. You know?
Now, I know that when you interviewed Wilt, I remember this, that you asked him about
Girl of my life.
Yeah. You asked him about his off-the-court activities with women, right? Do you recall what he said?
Listen, he used to hang at the Playboy clubs throughout all the city. Hugh Hefner, very liberal guy, good man, Chicago guy. We miss him. We could use some of his guidance even in today's world. We've lost, I think, people that were able to joke around but also put things in context. We lost Joan Rivers. We lost Don Rickles. We lost Hugh Hefner. We lost a lot of voices that would try to calm people down. Maybe, the insult comic is gone for the most part. You can't have any fun anymore. But he was so liberal that I have a picture of Wilt Chamberlain with his arm around the Playboy bunny, and there's no doubt he had so much fun. But the night he was supposed to come in, we did the show at Hollywood Casino, jam-packed. He was promoting his book. Guy looked fit as a fiddle when we did the show. But he was supposed to come in the day before. He gives me a call. He goes, I'm at the airport now, but I met a girl. I go, okay. He goes, I'll meet you tomorrow. Just send a limo to I forget if he was at the Hyatt or somewhere in Rosemont. And he says, send the limo, I'll be there. So I said, you were supposed to come to dinner, pal. He goes, well, I'm going to be a little busy, and that's how that happened. And then, I think on the show, and he got to the show, and then we ate with him afterwards. It was me, John Suntress, Jesse Rogers, BB, a bunch of us. We're at the Fairbanks room at Hollywood Casino. And here he is. And I tell my guys, I go, listen, this is like sitting and having dinner with Babe Ruth. Remember this. So we never had camera phones back then.
Yeah.
We didn't have those. I'd have so many cool pictures now I have pictures that are cool, like the one of Matt Moody today and stuff like that. But, back then you just didn't take, and we would have had even more pictures than we did. But, yeah, he was a little bit more, I don't think ashamed, sheepish about the outlandish 10,000 women thing.
That was a number. I just had to do the math.
He was a little bit trying to get off that thing.
Yeah.
Not that people didn't believe him.
Right.
If Tristan Thompson could have a 7-some, Wilt Chamberlain could have 100-some. Okay.
Very
the
true.
stats put you there.
Very true.
If you're telling me Wilt Chamberlain walked into a bar and said, I'm having a party, I only want the girls to come to my suite, it's right across the street, the whole bar would empty out back in the day.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. So.
Wilt Chamberlain had one of the largest beds ever constructed for a human being, and you're right. He could have 100-some.
Yeah, it was as big as the infield of a baseball field, it was circular and it spun around.
That's right.
You'll excuse me if that's one part of no matter what kind of life you have, that bed ain't spinning on me. That bed's staying where it's at. Okay? And there's no water bed. It's a mattress. And there's 2 of them. And it's a king-size bed. That's good enough for me.
That's a good call. All right, Mike, I want you to tell your listeners about the ESPN show, when they can tune in.
Okay.
And by the way, Diego Del Rio, whose name I will mention again,
I love Diego.
tells me that he listens to you religiously on that show. He loves you on that show. Now we just got to get him to listen to this show. All right. Tell me about the ESPN show.
Don't worry about this show, Aldo. It takes care of itself. If people don't want to make money, if people don't want to be entertained, that's the way it is. The podcast is coming out. Believe me when I tell you, just listen to it. But you can get me on ESPN. We're doing very well. Our numbers are doing very well over there from what I understand.
Yeah.
I want from 6 to 7 every Friday. Right now I'm 7 and 5. Carmen and I are 12 and 10 as a crew. We've been doing it already 4 or 5 weeks. Bear Ballroom, I'm 11 and 5. I have the White Sox tonight. And I have Oakland for you folks out there in television and in, if you have the MLB package. I love doing Bears Barroom. It gives me the freedom to say stuff that you just can't say, on regular radio, like the ESPNs and stuff like that. It's just looser. Tomorrow night, I have a huge guest already booked. Huge. So, Aldo loves Mike, who do you got? He starts tugging at me. Who do you got?
Yeah.
I go, I can't sleep. Who do you got? No, don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. And then usually he's happy.
Always. Always.
Yes. So we have a huge guest for tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. I hope we have a winning day. And it's just been a gas. I'm 180 games over 500 in Vegas scores and odds. It's been a magical year, 18-1-1 with this great guy, my friend and my partner, Aldo Gandia, one of the greats, and just a great straight man, a great guy that just lets me roll a little bit. We have so much fun. It's been so satisfying. So let's just keep it going. Let's try to get some winners. And we're going to be on an hour before the national championship game tomorrow, folks. Don't miss it. I'm going to have a pick for everybody.
Mike North, you are wonderful. You're my good buddy. We're going to get some work done on your autobiography today, which is going to be a bestseller. I know that it is.
Well, you've already been doing some stuff with it, and you told me the other day you were excited. So you know what? When the writer's excited, that's part of the deal, man. Because they don't know a guy writing an autobiography. There's been many who thought it was going to be much better than it was. And you said to me the other day, this has possibilities.
That's exactly right.
All right, buddy.
I want to thank everybody in the chat room and Mike North Advantage on Monday, Draft on Tap on Thursday on your podcast stream. And make sure you catch Mike North on the ESPN show, 6 p.m., The Odds Couple. Thank you very much for listening.